Northern Lion is a strange man, as dedicated to structure just as much as he is apathetic towards it. He is on one hand able to play the same game twice daily for nearly a decade. On the other, new series would be started and concluded at the drop of a hat, such as his short-lived podcast with his milk-bagged friend, Melf, a short-lived Dota 2 career, or his foray into games like Europa Universalis and Crusader Kings. These cases are even more prominent on his channel than Isaac, and yet there was one more outlier next to Isaac. A series that spanned multiple years and 3 different US presidents, being streamed exactly 3 days a week for 3 hours a day. In many people's eyes, the NLSS was, or is, the defining era of Northern Lion. It is a contender in terms of sheer entertainment, but adding on how it illustrates the scum oozing from NL's shell, the NLSS perfectly encapsulates both the old
tonight. That's right.
and the new NL.
I'm gonna come to my mama's mouth.
The yolk that went on to feed the rooster's domination of the roost. But before all of that, what ingredients does it take to form this scum-oozing omelet? Neck's weirdness contrasted perfectly with NL's adherence to the status quo at all costs mindset, and works as a B- tier comedy troupe. But the duo decided they needed something more to add to this mix, another ingredient these two social rejects are missing. That was exactly it. They needed a normal person to ground this comedy act. Josh, better known as the Working Man, and NL's friend before his YouTube channel. What makes Josh a perfect fit for this comedy trio is the fact he has a real job and interfaces with common society. Where he works exactly has never been pinned down. Despite my hours of diligent research, the best I can find is an old LinkedIn page where it said he previously worked as a house painter and waste disposal consultant. Nonetheless, with Josh the Painter joining as the third co-host, the NLSS came out the gate swangin'. Exact viewer metrics at the time are hard to find, as the only remaining legacy of these streams are the VODs, an anagram for videos on demand, for the slow ones at the back. So, I'm going to have to go rogue on this one, and offer my memory of view counts when I first started watching the NLSS. I know, it will be a great departure from the robust reporting I've given you so far. When I started watching NL back in 2014, views sat around the 4,000 mark, which was a notable chunk for the time, especially for how consistent it was. From my memory, I don't recall it ever fluctuating below this number. It only ever slightly increased year over year. A slow increase for sure, but it's a form of viewership some lesser streamers would kill for. Many even today are envious of NL's sudden success, believing they deserve what the Eggman's got. Stepping on the toes of his fellow streamers would become common during NL's streaming career, finding himself at odds far more often than if he'd just stayed a humble Let's Player. Of course, this hostility is aimed squarely from the outside, and there's no way someone who actually knows NL would bear ill will towards him. Putting that aside, explaining why the NLSS is successful can be difficult without resorting to saying, "It's just honey, liberal, get over it." So, imagine if you will, live streaming as if it were a physical zoo, taking place on Twitch, the everything happens. Most zoo enclosures have sporadic appearances from the animals. On occasion, a tiger will be out and about soaking in the sun rays, doing the bare minimum it can to entertain so it can keep a roof over its head.
Cheeto.
While other days the tiger doesn't show up at all, having taken an early day in from only getting 4 hours of sleep the whole week and eating week-old poutine, whereas the eccentric seals of the NLSS only appear on certain days at specified hours. The time of a seal is short, but they're doing tricks, sick flips, and eating everything dickhead patrons throw at it. A quality show versus the bare minimum. For most viewers, the choice is obvious. Yet for some, only spending a few hours a week to see the best live streaming can offer is quite the deal. But just who are the flamboyant seals that host the NLSS? Well, lucky for you, viewer, you're here just in time for the show. Introducing Alpaca Patrol, Mouth, Cobalt Street,
Sitting on my
Bear
custom
Taffy, Dang Easily,
acquiesced.
Apollo, Mathis, Corey, H.C. Justice, Sinvicta, Hafu, Lovely Momo,
Wait,
J. Smith OTI,
what the fuck are you talking about?
Broccoli Miles, and Northern Lion. To showcase this cavalry of chuckleheads, and also how the NLSS has evolved over time, I have highlighted a few key moments from over the years. These are phases the show went through with its constant metamorphosis for its first stage of evolution, and what will define the NLSS for years to come. Let's start where the name Scum Egg came from. As established, the NLSS was a relatively popular stream that showcased new indie games, which meant many indie developers would froth at the gash to have their game shown. In order to do this, devs would give out their keys for their games for the NLSS host, as a means of getting their games out there. A fair few of these games were found and played this way. However, most wouldn't make the cut, as more indie games meant less time playing Dark Souls, Spelunky, and of course, The Binding of Isaac. So, game keys would pile up in NL's email, waiting for the day to finally be used. That's when Nick got a great idea. What if they just gave out the keys to viewers of the stream? Josh and NL loved it, but thought they could gamify it by conducting a trivia game, where the winner gets a free game key.
This enigmatic Batman villain is obsessed with puzzles and brain teasers.
The Riddler.
That is correct. Nothing more to say about that, is there? It was indeed the Riddler.
While the NLSS was switching between games, they'd host a live trivia game.
To win trivia, go to twitter.com/NorthernLionLP, and then be the fourth person to give me the correct answer to these questions, and you will receive a copy of...
At first, the whole idea seemed wonderful, with the fans absolutely loving it. However, there was immediate cracks in how the winners were decided. The trivia was shown live on stream, with NL as the host. Nick, Josh, and whoever was on at the time could join in on the trivia.
Oh, Canadian bacon?
You're goddamn right.
Though they couldn't win anything. This often led to the co-host, typically Josh, shouting out the answer, and NL confirming it before anyone could send in their own answer. Lastly, the answers had to be given over X, the everything app, called Twitter at the time, which caused an even larger delay between who heard the answer and who answered first. But the trivia segment was still fun, so many viewers didn't mind how janky it was to actually compete. It was only until viewers started to notice a concerning pattern in the names of people who had won. Most winners' names followed a strange pattern. Mr. Anderson loves fuking. Mighty Arnold leaves fudge. Matt ain't looking freaky. My aardvark licks friends. So on and so forth. What all of these names have in common is containing the initials MALF, which was strikingly similar to the frequent NLSS guest, Michael A.L. Fox. Malf, who had never actually participated in the trivia live. A witch hunt formed, with many viewers accusing the NLSS of laundering these poor indie developers' game keys. All fingers pointed towards the shrewd Fox, whose name was worn by most all trivia winners. However, the truth was revealed when Malf, accidentally, leaked his Discord DMs between himself and NL. Those DMs revealed that it was a three-pronged operation between NL, who made the trivia, Malf, who collected the keys, and lastly, Josh, who ran interference and muddled the waters by shouting the answers out early. This event would go down in infamy. It would not be forgotten for many years to come, the lasting impact of which was giving NL the nickname of Scum Egg, and Josh called the Scum Lord. While Malf remained Malf. Through all of these shenanigans, Nick was none the wiser, and just enjoying the weird and janky trivia. When he did learn of the scumduggery going on, Nick had a stern talking to with those involved. Through his efforts, Nick was able to mend the relationship with the devs whose keys were hoodwinked, and the fans of the show. NL, Malf, and Josh may be scum in the eyes of the viewers still, but the shine off of the golden boy neck had held their ire for the time being. Food is a part of every human's life, so it stands to reason many of us hold contentious opinions on food, such as holding a spice as more essential than others, or the best vessel to serve food upon, or which culture makes the best pizza, so on and so forth. It is no wonder then that a show such as the NLSS, that constantly scrapes the bottom of the barrel of discourse, will come back to food again and again. That is how seemingly benign questions like, "What is a sandwich?" can be asked multiple times on the NLSS. That question seems simple on the surface, but that belies the sandwich's true complexity.
Welcome to the NLSS, where you can be shamed for your choice of sandwich filling, but not beer. Seriously, though. Again, for all of this talk about tastes, eat and drink whatever you want. But if you put American cheese on your sandwich and you like it, we're gonna have a problem.
As seen from this chart here, which is dated back as far as the Archaic period, but has been updated over time, it is said that where you fall on this chart can say much about your personality. It also predicts the month in which you're born and your hairstyle. For starters, if you believe the standard sandwich is 2 pieces of bread with savory fillings in the middle, then you're a hardline structuralist who follows rules to a T. Much like NL, who was born in March and hairstyle is none.
Well, you don't even want a prepackaged sandwich because it compromises the bread integrity. You know, that's like, it's like a fucking nuclear meltdown. You know, you've got
But what of the other NLSS members? What is a sandwich to them, if not a miserable pile of toppings? In the middle quadrants, we will find a man known as Bear Taffy, who is neutral on both fillings and form of bread. To Bear, a man born in September and has a chip hazard haircut, the dire Uncrustable is a sandwich.
I do not think
Pop-Tarts, joke food, toaster strudel. Serious.
It is a food product that contains either a savory or a sweet filling, encased in bread with no crust. He would also tell you of the most efficient way to eat such a delectable meal.
I'm sitting on an Uncrustable.
Can you cheese this?
Did you just say
One must remove the Uncrustable from the freezer and place the snack between your armpit or under your ass.
They're the only food you can't warm it up. The only
amazing.
instructions are thaw for 30 to 60 minutes. Do not microwave.
And she would keep an Uncrustable like in her armpit to warm it up while she was playing.
Oh.
One must make sure not to remove the plastic coating containing your delightful meal, lest it tastes like actual ass. To a sandwich purist like NL, this is an ungovernable action for many accounts.
actually the worst way
no.
to warm up.
You would hear it
It's
go
in a
pop when she'd
package.
get excited by the game, and then it was ready.
Why would you ever?
First off, using your own body heat to prepare a meal goes against all semblance of civilized society.
I'm not worried about you shoving like a solid brick of stink into the Uncrustable. It's
Nice hit.
it's gaseous stink. It can pass between the molecules of the plastic.
Millions did not die harvesting aluminium to create ovens and microwaves. For someone to debase themselves below a caveman.
And then you're defrosting it in your fucking armpits. Everybody's going freaking crazy.
Furthermore, NL would write off the Uncrustable before it even got under your ass. Because Uncrustables are joke food, which cannot be sandwiches, which are serious foods. As defined by NL, a joke food is something
You eat it and you laugh. You go, this is fun.
A serious food is
Can you
something.
picture like the head of General Motors? You know, oh, don't worry about making reservations today. Miss Iacocca packed me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch.
Bear finds this categorization of food ridiculous and obtuse, and as one of the few NLSS members to stand up to NL, it was Bear's job to push back on NL's power tripping.
Oh, fuck no. Let me turn that around on you. If I saw the CEO of General Motors had packed a PB&J in his brown paper bag for lunch, that dude is the most relatable CEO on the face of the planet at that
I would
point.
vote for him for president.
Extremely relatable to all the other 7-year-olds out there in planet Earth.
Au contraire, says the Bear, it is not such a simple designation, for if we were to follow such logic, would an ice cream sandwich not be a sandwich? Even when the phrase is in the very word itself? The argument continued until Robert, the The trash man representative of the NLSS, who was born in Maine, has a $30 haircut.
Meat between bread is a sandwich. In
No
my
doubt,
mind,
yeah.
or really anything besides bread itself between bread is a sandwich.
Innocently posed his query. If a sandwich is a wheat-based product either side of savory ingredients, then is lasagna not a sandwich? Whether this was asked in good or bad faith, only Rob knows. What resulted was the argument raging even harder, continuing for 40 days and 40 nights and bleeding into almost every conversation, such as a talk about creating a Star Wars parody Italian restaurant, where Robert asked, "How are you going to have a restaurant without a sandwich?" NL threw his hand into the air and uttered the infamous phrase.
Oh, wait, I mean, this one's pretty spoiler heavy, but it's also the best thing on the menu.
Yeah.
I'll have one, I am your Zanya, please.
This is meant to be a play on the famous Star Wars scene where Darth Vader reveals he is Luke Skywalker's father. An absurd leap in logic that would get any self-respecting comedian kicked out of clown school.
With the side of Sarlacc bread.
Where's the play on words, though?
I am your Zanya.
No, that's just lasagna, though.
Yet this has become the norm of the NLSS ever since the end of Trivia Night. What are joke films? What are novelty films? What is a Star Wars themed Italian restaurant? The fabric of the NLSS is tethering, leading it to spiral even further and further from its yarn ball. Almost like... Entropy. Oxford defines it as such. A lack of order or predictability, and a gradual decline into disorder. NL can probably be defined as a man who loves order. That's more or less what his entire creative output is based around. One Isaac video a day, free NLSS streams a week, and free other series that get uploaded daily. NL is like a clock, constantly ticking along to a rhythm. The exact intricacies to said rhythm are only known by the clock. Or, engineers so well attuned to clocks, they are able to sense when the minute hand and the hour hand switch places. Where am I going with this? Oh yeah. The best clock engineers in NL's life is of course his spouse, Kate, as well as his esteemed co-host, Rock Lee Smile. This daily routine of NL is what many thought was his strongest point, but following this routine for years, day in, day out, has left those close to NL worried that he is straying closer to career suicide. One might think that Nick should be the last person to notice NL's change in rhythm, considering he is usually the one trying to disrupt it, such as suggesting bizarre games to play in the show, like the time they played Rocco's Modern Life for the SNES.
Have you been able to use a chair yet?
No. In fact, I have to tell you, Nick, I have a sneaking suspicion this game is garbage.
Calm down.
They played it for 20 minutes before NL pivoted to a more fitting game.
Yes, we will. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this.
Sometimes the game would stick, like Mount Your Friends, a game where two players race to climb over top of each other while swinging their massive girthy dongs in each other's faces. This was the typical push and pull of the NLSS. Nick suggests his weird games, and NL shoots down most of them.
Holy shit, NL is ruthless. Next thing you know, he's gonna ban Nick from his chat in the NLSS.
I will if you suggest another Acclaim-made Super Nintendo game based on a Nickelodeon cartoon.
It's due to this that the NLSS was at the forefront of many different eras of video game live streaming on Twitch, such as the case with Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Yeah, people were like, we're really gonna watch an hour of this? Have you ever seen the NLSS before?
This is like OG NLSS bread and butter right here.
Yeah, it is.
It's an hour of slowly giving yourself a repetitive stress injury in your right wrist.
The NLSS played this game 1 week before it came out, also 1 week before it dominated the top streamers of Twitch, as every viewer wanted their streamer to play this new rage game.
Brimstone.
You go small rock, launch yourself straight up, touch the lamp.
Or the strange Spanish drawing game Printatrio, that the NLSS played long before games like Scribble.io or Gartic Phone were released. This brought a fair share of prestige to the show, some people calling them the Conquistadors of Twitch for some reason. Perhaps it was caused by this growing reputation. The NL let more of Nick's weird games on the show, which caused the NLSS to stray further and further from its intended design. Nick noticed this downward spiral, but couldn't believe it was actually happening. To test Ryan, I thought I'd try to suggest an absolutely awful game, just to see if you'd want to play it. That was a quote from Mel trying to remember something he thought Nick said once. This was a game called Death Stairs, a positively bizarre game that listed its biggest selling point as more than 200 million possible match outcomes.
This is literally the worst.
You can do it, Cobalt, I believe. Pro stress.
The game consisted of 3 players running up a flight of stairs, while one player shoots rocks at the other 3.
Man.
I am literally falling to the floor and I cannot move.
And
I'm
there's
still shooting at no one.
there's the level. You know, maybe
Well, I mean,
3 or
closer
4,000 game units above it.
This is lifted almost 1-for-1 from a popular Gmod game mode called Death Run. Death Stairs being a heavily stripped down version that doesn't even let the Death Man push funny buttons. The very existence of Death Stairs is a confusing one, with much of the NLSS crew's discussion centered around how such a game even exists.
What do you think this game's inspired by?
Stairmaster
Growing up,
exercise
Sisyphus.
program.
The ability to create cubes and spheres in Unreal Engine 4 just by clicking one button.
Okay, I'm being serious here. Like, honestly, how long from start to finish? how long do you think it took to make this game?
I don't know.
Now helping the fact is that Death Stairs appeared on Steam, the Everything app, one day before the NLSS, disappearing from Steam shelves the day after the NLSS. Such a phenomenon was enough to drive NL further into madness.
What's the what's the story behind this game? Like, what do you think the lore is? What are we trying to get?
We're trying to get to the end, man.
Yet this experiment by Nick gave enough evidence for him to reach a conclusion that his dear friend's brain was slowly forming more and more cracks. It seems NL, and the NLSS by extension, is suffering from the sick illness that affects us all one day, entropy. It was a stoic afternoon when the NLSS decided to play GoldenEye 64, a cult classic back when movie tie-in games had a 1% chance of actually being good. The game has been ported to the source engine so it can be played on modern systems, and to allow for global online multiplayer. The game was recommended by one of the misfit members of the NLSS, Apollo. Originally, Apollo was a DEI hire, brought on by NL to muscle in on the furry community. NL figured that if most furries had enough money to buy a fursuit, they had enough cash for years worth of Twitch subscriptions. Unbeknownst to NL, however, Apollo belonged to 2 minority groups. You see, Apollo is a hard R gamer, who has the strangest knack to be good at almost every game he plays, from platformers to first-person shooters, always finding a comfortable hole-sized niche to fit himself into. This caused early friction between NL and Apollo, saying, quote, "My early YouTube was defined at being good at one game. Yet here comes this dumb dog who is good at many games. It just ain't friggin' fair, man." Apollo positioned himself on the bottom for this conflict, acting as the underdog fighting against the shellfish top cat of NL. For now, however, viewers would be unaware this battle is taking place. It wasn't until NL decided to expose himself to the public that anyone even knew of this power bottom struggle. During a game of GoldenEye, NL decided to even the playing field by convincing everyone else on the call to Eiffel Tower Apollo and make up a fake pizza restaurant called Mod Pizza.
Hey, Corey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
How do you feel about Mod Pizza?
it's good.
Thank you.
That had the absurd gimmick of being a subway for pizza, where a customer could transform a pizza to their liking that could then be cooked in under 3 minutes.
I mean, I'll give it to you. And this is like unbiased as possible, okay?
Yeah, get it to me
Mon
straight.
Pizza is a pizza place where they go through, they give you a crust, and then they take you down the line Subway style and go, what do you want on your pizza? And then you can put all sorts of weird combinations. You can get one of the ones that's like predetermined. And then at the end, they bake it in an 800-degree oven for 3 minutes and give it to you.
It is an idea so patently deranged, only the most savvy of role players could keep up. Apollo has participated in his fair share of transformable roleplay, but it was NL, Nick, Corey, and Rob who bounced back and forth in this absurd tennis rally.
Does that not sound like every pizzeria you've ever been
No.
to?
No, it
How
cooks
was it
in
not?
3 minutes!
I will
Well, the pizza chains also, you don't know what they have. You gotta talk to the guy. He's like, hey, we got meat.
Apollo had to make a hard decision, keep pounding noobs, or actively participate in the current conversation. Psychological warfare was the name of the game, and Apollo was caught in a toxic affair. He struck back with an unusual tactic, and interjected high-pitched bottom noises into the conversation.
Pizza. How do I buy you a pizza? Give me your social security number. Figure.
Actually,
Which is now in partnership with Equifax and
You like that? You like this? You like that?
This might be seen as pathetic and lousy from a virgin eye, but to an experienced man like NL, he knew exactly what the dumb dog was attempting. This inconsistent pattern of yelping was actually projecting bilateral tones with the aim of sending NL's brain a message that would get him cancelled. Playing the footage backwards, and putting it through a cipher, shows us the phrase, "What a woman's favorite restaurant." Yet NL had foreseen such a tactic, and deployed a surefire countermeasure. NL attempted to bring the bit to a climax, by saying no to any attempts to keep the improv going.
That'll be
pro.
the end of the discussion on Mod Pizza.
What most would recognize as career suicide, Apollo plainly saw that NL was edging the whole NLSS if Apollo did not participate and save the bit.
blue ass.
I'm done! Go play your slappy bullshit game! Okay, I'll go play shooting gun game, you play your bullshit slappy game!
It seemed like all hope was lost for Apollo. He had to dedicate 99% brain capacity to coming up with jokes for a stupid fake pizza restaurant. An impossible task that would have surely resulted in him bottoming out in the conversation, and GoldenEye. However, unbeknownst to everybody, there was a secret third party in the corner of this conversation. Emerging from his cuck chair like a panther stalking its prey, Josh inserted one sentence to bust a fat hole in this entire conversation.
And
Wait,
roasted
this is
red
the thing that
peppers.
exists?
A precise precision strike that pushed the whole conversation off the edge.
What the fuck are you talking about? We were just talking about this for 20 minutes. No, I'm so mad because you were in this conversation.
Making everyone, including Apollo and NL, fall behind in GoldenEye, and face complete social assassination from chat.
Thought he had a direct line to my cerebral cortex.
Though Josh suffered most of the blowback, it was a small price to pay for winning the conversation. How Josh was able to stay in the shadows and strike just as the iron is hot and slink back to the shadows is a skill that takes people many years to perfect. A skill that Apollo certainly did not have, with him feeling the brunt of NL's ire for the days to come. NL would then spend many more times trying to socially assassinate Apollo, forming a one-sided bitter rivalry between the two. This was, however, all under the sheets for the average NLSS viewer, but those paying attention knew that the clock was ticking ever faster on the clock of entropy.
If you guys had a truck,
Yes.
what would you put inside of it? And it could be anything.
How to come into a sock properly. Or Channel Wham, understand.
If you had to die, would you want to die from your ass?
What if I told you that all of those words were wrong, spoken out into the ether, and warped by the winds?
Fudanari Safari.
This is a common occurrence in the nebulous realm of the Jacked Box, which should never have been opened. It is where all human motor functions get pushed to their limit.
Fuck harder.
The box can make a man say words that were never in the Bible.
I just shoot into the sock. It's extremely crass.
Just what is this Jacked Box, that it can drive a man to such extremes? And who was the first to open it? The people who have created it are unknown, and are said to have never existed. With all that remains is a small team churning out the inhuman machinations of the box.
You don't clean in the sock, you wipe with the sock. What do you...
Much joy and laughter came from the box, and perhaps it was obvious that such joy required equal pain and sacrifice, with two people volunteering their minds up for cost. Rob, a respectable bipartisan,
Monster Time board game!
whose artistic skill could rival even the greats like Leonardo and Da Vinci, which fell by the wayside as his mind tried to interpret the inscrutable comic lash.
I'll have what she's having. Larry the Pussy Boy.
Then there's Mouth, longtime friend of NL who has stood by his side for much of the NLSS's lifespan. Mouth is a sophisticated boy who longed to be the pride of Moncton by going to architecture school, and would have found himself a lucrative career and happy life if it were not for the box.
I feel down the stairs and ravioli on me.
His writing and cognitive ability fell to shambles. The only way he could spell Earth now was Earthy.
What's really at the center of the Earth? Other Earthy or an ice cream filling?
You know,
His professors complained that Mouth constantly brought up eating his own Nort.
$5,000 to lie on a table for an hour and have Nort served off of your naked body at a
and wiggled his eyebrows at his classmates. The last straw came when he was in a meeting with his university's director. The director sneezed, and Mouth immediately said out loud, "Bitch."
Every time you hear "bless you," you involuntarily react by bitch.
Though Mouth has stayed an exonerated member of the NLSS, it is unclear if he is able to acclimate to any other environment.
What the fuck is a riab?
Oh, that's...
Now that Mouth and Rob have sacrificed themselves to the Jacked Box, they no longer have the means to close it. May God rest their souls, so their internal bodies are not tormented by the box, even in the afterlife. Being haircut can even make the most rational men say irrational things, such as the case during an NLSS Isaac run, where NL brings up a conspiratorial belief of his that not even the tightest vac cube could get out of me.
I don't truly believe that food poisoning exists. Like, I think whenever anybody gets diarrhea, they just, like, they have no conceivable expectation that maybe they caught a virus from, like, shaking the dirty boy's hands or something like that. Everybody's like, oh, it must have been the fire sauce from Taco Bell that I had. No, you just maybe got infected with a little virus from shaking somebody's hands.
A truly bizarre statement that left the rest of the call absolutely flummoxed.
of what practical use is this?
I'm just saying, but
This might be the dumbest thing you've ever seen.
No one would get an answer from this bizarre statement, not until an NLSS with just NL and Neck, where Neck lightly pushed back on NL's strange statement.
It's really strange to me.
I agree.
Don't want to get food poisoning.
That's the end.
Don't give me food
That's
poisoning.
the end of this discussion. It was good while it lasted. I liked it. Have you
It's
ever
a
had
bowl
food
with
poisoning?
semen?
This minor objection was enough for NL to back down immediately, though he still insisted that neither he nor any of his friends have had experienced food poisoning. That would change when one fateful night a new member of the NLSS would inflict a deadly curse. This may come as a shock to viewers of the reality TV show Big Brother, or mean absolutely nothing to people who haven't watched it. But the Big Brother Season 10 winner and Season 14 runner-up, Dan Giesling, had struck the NLSS community.
You will always be Judas in my house.
How NL and Dan met in the first place is often speculated, as Dan just appeared on the NLSS one day without much fanfare, though some fans have theorized that NL and Dan met at a hockey game, and the two bonded over their shared experience as public school teachers. The circumstance of their crossing of fates is unimportant. What is important, however, is Dan was a ring above on the social ladder, while also being far more acquiescent in the battlefields of banter and social espionage. Dan knows what it means when someone makes a bit too little brother, which is what NL has done.
You know, we gotta give him a stool sample or something and see if there's SARMI bacteria.
As soon as you call the lawyer, they're gonna say start collecting the evidence. So you're gonna have to like puke and diarrhea into a Ziploc bag.
Grab all your feces.
Unless you already do that.
So, Dan appeared on stream one day, out of the blue, and placed the curse of Surso Yeet on the entirety of the NLSS.
From one to another, the food poisoning will hit all members of the NLSS in the next 90 days.
Don't jinx it!
Oh! Dan just gave us the psilocybin curse!
This was brushed off as another one of Dan's weird antics, but week by week, the needle was getting pushed over in Dan's direction. Rob had revealed he'd eaten a tempura fried banana that had been left out on the countertop overnight.
I don't know what I got food poisoning from.
You did goddamn right.
I assume it was the day-old tempura banana that I ate.
I mean, did you leave it out overnight or did you leave it in the fridge?
I left it out overnight.
What, dude?
Then he spent the entire day huddled over a toilet for 12 hours. Apollo ate a chicken sarmi, which no mere mortal should ever do.
Yeah.
Guys, Austin is watching Twitch from his toilet right now. It's almost like he's fighting Sauron's army, aka Sarmi.
Oh!
And suffered the consequences of having his guts rearranged over the toilet for 12 hours. Bear had somehow confused himself having a hangover with food poisoning.
When Bear Taffy went to San Francisco for that media event, does being hungover leave you with a nasty headache and bouts of nausea? I'm like, it's like the textbook symptoms.
And spent the morning being lurched over a toilet for 12 hours.
Fell down the stairs and ravioli on me.
Which caused him to double over on the toilet for 12 hours. Finally, neck. He just wanted to know more about entropy, and found himself cramped over a toilet for 12 hours as recompense for his thirst for knowledge. It seemed like Dan's new tech was playing out right before everyone's eyes, as almost all NLSS members got food poisoning. Everyone looked to NL as the man who was the prime recipient of this curse, yet he was completely unaffected. He was a ball player, and every stream, NL showed up completely normal. There were times he was close, like when Kate tried to feed him a 2-month-old banana they had received in the mail from the developers of Prey 2016.
Ryan gets 100 sub within 10 minutes, Ryan will eat the moldy banana.
I'm not gonna eat that banana.
As days went by, it would seem that NL was the only one unaffected by this curse, throwing into question if the curse was real in the first place. Fans had taken to calling Dan DNA, in reference to his control over the minds and bodies of those around him. If anything, this brought NL and Dan even closer than before, being the only two members without food poisoning. They dialed in, and bantered to each other about food that would almost certainly make them sick.
Melfi, what's Swedish pizza like? How's that pizza?
I haven't had Swedish pizza. I mean,
it would seem this would be the end of the food poisoning saga, because surely Dan's curse wasn't so strong to continue laying dormant for over 5 years.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device in which suggests
lying in wait and storing up power. Power that was sorely needed in keeping the NLSS together, that had almost fallen apart completely after this food poisoning fiasco. The NLSS's decline was now accelerated, and if nothing was done, the whole show would fall apart. If you are a passive viewer of the NLSS, it may have felt like it just dropped out of existence one day, where all parties decided to go their own ways but still collaborate, just not in the format of the NLSS. Yet to an active listening passive empath like myself, I was able to uncover the true breakdown of the NLSS. The end can be traced back to a single moment in time, an event that took place over a week, the Tournament of Shame. The name was chosen to prevent collusion and discourage any unsportsmanlike conduct, acting as an ironic title for a simple, friendly tournament. Little did everyone know just how accurate the title was going to be. The event took place in the game Golf with Your Friends that had been released just the day prior to the event. The tournament was organized by Dan Giesling in hopes to bring the NLSS back together with some friendly competition. An invite was sent to everyone, but only Bear, Neck, Mouth, and NL acquiesced the invitation. At this point, NL's strange behavior had gone beyond the scope of just Neck.
Everybody's going freaking crazy!
So everyone was trying their best to keep this failing franchise from crumbling. From the arguments about everything.
It's all fucked, man!
What is fucking chicken salad? I don't even have any pores anymore, it ain't raised!
The slow mental deterioration.
What do you...
Wait, what?
Well, no, I thought the whole process is you jerk off using the sock, like it's a shitty fleshlight.
It's a fabric condom.
Gaslighting each other about establishments like OK Spaghetti and Mod Pizza.
What the fuck are you talking about? We were just talking about this for 20 minutes! No, I'm so mad!
The tournament was a much-needed reprieve for everyone involved. All members were in high hopes before the event even started. The banter became more friendly, and social espionage was at an all-time low. It seemed even if the tournament didn't happen, the very idea of it was enough to bring this group of friends back together. Unfortunately, this was all too good to be true, and a metaphorical chicken sarmy was thrown into this wholesome event. The sarmy came in the form of NL announcing in the Skype group chat that he had constructed some sort of spreadsheet for the tournament. All other members were baffled by this statement. Surely NL wasn't jeopardizing the sanctity of this friendly golf tournament, right? Said Nick. And if he was, what would he have to possibly gain? Spoke Rob. Besides giving long strokes to his hairless, massive ego, Bear retorted. All was revealed during the first match between Rob and NL, where NL revealed just how real the spreadsheet was, by getting a hole-in-one immediately, and even telling Rob the exact numbers to punch in to achieve a hole-in-one on round 2.
Okay, yeah.
1 3/4 power, straight ahead. Trust in the math.
Okay, 1 3/4 power.
Rob was shocked to say the least, and asked NL why he created such a thing. NL responded by saying he was only playing by the rules made up in his head. You see, since Golf with Your Friends had only released the day before the Tournament of Shame, all competitors were on the same level when the tournament started. NL claimed that Bear had broken this unspoken rule first.
I didn't realize the Tournament of Shame was a closed book exam. I thought it was open book. You can use the resources available to yourself.
By announcing in the Skype chat that he had spent the whole night golfing before the tournament. NL was infuriated by this. He sent an angry emoticon and declared this gave Bear an unfair advantage over everyone else. So the only logical response NL saw was to also practice.
Kind of see what you're saying.
And then you go 3.75 power, and
Okay.
it just goes into the hole, man.
But only in a more efficient way. NL spent the next morning golfing, while using a spreadsheet to write down the numbers needed for a hole-in-one on each course. In NL's mind, Bear had already broken this unspoken rule. The only thing NL did was even the playing field. Rob was distraught upon finding this out, seeing his friend openly bragging about disrupting this tournament. There were many things Rob wanted to say, many words that would have set the record straight, but when NL offered to show Rob the spreadsheet, The next words to come out of Rob's mouth were,
I want to wreck fools with it. Tell no one else.
You tell no one else, okay?
Well, I absolutely will not.
In a cruel twist of fate, the Tournament of Shame's name brought on extra meaning, as the foundation of this friendly event had been completely decroded. This was not the end of NL's bald-faced chicanery either, for he told Rob not to tell his soul about this spreadsheet. But much like the Garden of Eden, once man sinned for the first time, there was no telling how many more sins they will commit. NL was the one to cross this road in the first place, so it should have come as no surprise to him when Rob told his next opponent, Dan, immediately.
Ryan's got like a serious cheat sheet going on, so, be prepared for that.
He was joking in the Skype chat that he has an XLS or an Excel file opened up.
That's not a joke. He actually does.
Rob even said where he learned of the spreadsheet. Dan lost his mind at this information. How could NL destroy something as sacred as this tournament? It was resinous. A brief aside for those that don't know. Resin is an item in the video game Dark Souls that increases the user's damage. It is quite a powerful item, and as such is looked down upon in Dark Souls player versus player combat. Its dislike is so ubiquitous that anything that goes against the integrity of the challenge is often referred to as resin, to Dan at least, who lost his match against Rob, but swore to confront NL about this use of resin.
No one tears into him, no one gives him any salt. I am gonna salt him so much for having an Excel file, just so you know.
Yeah, salt is that's totally fine.
Oh god.
Had Dan confronted NL when he had left that message in the Skype chat, Dan may have had the upper hand in resolve, but now that the scum had seeped into the tournament, Dan too would fall into temptation of resin.
Can you walk me through the process?
You want the keys to the kingdom?
The argument they had was long and fierce, taking place over the whole match.
If this were, let's just call this the Masters. Okay, so the Masters in Augusta, Georgia. Would that be considered a performance-enhancing drug?
I don't think, they have caddies, and the caddy is like, use your 6-iron here. Dan, if you ever want some advice on how to get a hole-in-one on this course, you just say the word, and you can have you can't have the keys to the kingdom, but you can have, I'll unlock the door for you.
When this all said and done, if you can look at the score and say, all right, I may have doped.
What are you talking about?
Anabolic steroids, but hey, just saying, all right, he wants to play the Tournament of Shame this way.
Yet, as NL was declared the victor on the final hole, he was also triumphant in the marketplace of ideas.
Hold on, wait, I play him. Yeah, I play him last week. You sent it to me.
You really want, dude?
No, seriously.
The tone has changed completely here.
Now that Dan learned of the spreadsheet's sinful contents, NL moved onto more conquest. His next opponent was Bear, who in NL's eyes was the man who started this whole affair, but it was NL who would finish it.
How are you gonna go and make a fucking cheat sheet for the Tournament of Shame, man?
Dude, what are you talking about? This motherfucker puts in 500 hours in Rocket League before we do the Tournament of Shame. Me writing down some notes is apparently cheating.
Okay, well, I mean, I did practice a little bit of this for this game.
By handily smacking Bear's ass in golf, and bringing Bear under the wing of the spreadsheet.
You want to know? You want to know the secret?
I'd like to know, actually.
I know, everybody does.
Please tell me.
4.0, dead center on that most ambitious target.
No fucking way.
Yeah, dog.
No fucking way.
It seemed like all hope was lost for the future of the NLSS. NL was in a 3-0 lead, dominating everyone he had faced so far.
Northern Lions 4-0, Rackley Smiles 3-1, Bears 3-1.
There was but one match left in the Swiss structure. That is none other than the original co-host, Neck, who out of everyone here wanted this tournament to succeed the most. He did not want Entropy to win out, and if it were up to him, it would not. Neck stood firm against NL, and fought him with his own ability. Neck did not fall into sin. He did not debase himself amongst demons. He retained his humanity. Unfortunately, it takes more than willpower alone to overcome the scum egg, with NL leaving this match with a 4-0 win streak, putting him as top billing for the final round.
In the #1 spot was Cash Cab, aka NL. Second place, Broccoli Smile, Bear Taffy rounded up third, and I got in on the three-way tie. I beat Rob and Melf.
This tournament, which was meant to bring the NLSS together, had completely backfired.
And
I'm gonna put you on blast here. Are we going with the no cheat sheet rule?
why
You're
would
gonna
I ever agree? Why would I ever agree to go no cheat sheet?
If NL won this final round, this would surely spell doom for the NLSS.
No cheat sheet. It's a casual, fun game to play with your friends. I don't think it's worth trying so freaking hard. Just have a good time.
Yes, it is, man.
Next tournament of shame will be everyone get together. We'll do freaking a group conversation about Little Women.
Everyone else had fallen in line behind NL, with the only man who hadn't, Nick, was handedly beaten by NL in just the last round. Nick tried his best, in both golfing and to come up with a spirited defense for the sanctity of the Tournament of Shame.
I hope so.
I hate that we're even having this argument.
Oh, that was dumb. Why did I do that?
Somebody's gonna write these numbers down, yeah?
Yeah, give me a second.
Let it be the guy with the Excel spreadsheet already open.
It's not an Excel spreadsheet, it's just a notepad document. It's not even saved. If my power goes out, all this information is lost to the ether forever.
He had been with the NLSS from the very start, going through its many ups and downs, laughing with the crew during Jackbox,
Fudanari Safari. It's got a great name.
arguing with NL about what the fuck a joke food is.
What about, okay, so what about s'mores?
That's a joke food!
That's a joke to you?
Nick even kept the show from falling apart when no one else could. But it was all for naught in the end. NL's resin was much too strong. There was nothing anybody could do about it at this point. With all 18 holes being filled, Nick shed a single tear, as his inner fears had finally come to pass. NL had won. Nay, not just NL, but entropy as well, brought to ruin. Many watched on as the tournament came to an end. The chat was full of tearful sorrow, with many more flocking to the subreddits to express their sadness about the NLSS's sudden end. Amongst this crowd of mourners were streamers yet to come, whose toes were first dipped into the world of streaming by the NLSS. But the tournament had to come to an end, with NL winning the first place prize of a Peloton exercise bike. Only after the award ceremony would fans get a reason for the scumbag bringing the NLSS to an end, when he announced, "If you're upset that the NLSS was scrapped too early, or that it had ended on a sour note, good. I'm glad. You should take that anger and go make your own show. Go make a better version if you're going to be so dang annoying about it. If anyone can make something even half as good as the NLSS, then I'll meet you there, at the top." With this, a new era of live streaming had begun, with hundreds of chatters taking to Twitch to strike at their dreams, all aiming for the top, where the bald-bearded NL said he'll be waiting. Hino Raibaru no champion. Watashi no Dozan Ryan Kaikoten no Tomento Hen.